Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Standpoint. Let's now turn our attention to a very devastating tragedy in the course of the week, where at least 30 children were reported dead from a stampede at a children's fun fair in Ibadan. The unfortunate event, which happened at the Islamic High School in the Basharu area, was intended to provide 5,000 naira to 5,000 children. However, things took a devastating turn, where the number of children exceeded the expected 5,000, leading to a struggle for entry. TVC News learned that the event was organized by a former queen of the Oni of Ife in collaboration with a popular radio station in Ibadan. Meanwhile, the Oyo State government has mourned the loss of the lives, stating that they were unaware of the event until the tragic news spread. Deputy Governor Adebayo Lawal visited on one of the hospitals where some injured children were taken and requested that the organizers turn themselves in for further questioning. Unfortunately, the doctor confirmed that 4 children were brought in dead, while others are still receiving treatment. In a disturbing turn of the incident, 2 other stampedes have occurred today, one in Maitama and the other in Anambra, where persons also lost their lives. Let's speak more on this very sad development. The chairman of the Ibadan branch of the National Bar Association, Ibrahim Lawal, joins us for more on this. Good to have you join us.
My pleasure.
Let me just start by getting your thought on this. Really devastating to have, to even lose a life, at a time where, just at any point in time, but even at a time where people should be celebrating because it's the festive season. And then to think of, this number of children losing their lives. I mean, what's your thought on that?
It is unfortunate. It is sad. It's a sad commentary of where we are as a nation. And the Bar Association, which I am the chairman, had issued a release condemning the organization of that program. How do you invite 5,000 children to a venue that has only one entry and exit? A venue without security operatives, venue without a standby ambulance and stuff like that. You don't just call in people. You have to do what we call crowd management. And so it is our opinion that the state government going forward must have a protocol that people must follow. When you are
and we will get into all of that in just a moment, because there are 2 other stampedes now that have been recorded. But I wanted to ask you, you have mentioned, the absence of security agencies. State government has also said they were not aware of that event. How does that tie in terms of safety measures and, the position of the law?
Well, the thing is that, the position of the law, the Constitution says you have a right, of assembly. But in assembly, there should be consideration for protection of lives and properties. You cannot say because you have a right to assembly that you will not take precautions to also protect lives and property. So we are talking about public safety here. I do not think that such events do not, be, taken to the government for their information. There is no, it is just that we do things in this part of the country as if there is no government. You can't have event of such magnitude without government presence, without them, giving you support in terms of medical, in terms of security, in terms of, awareness. You can't come to the radio and say that all the children of Ibadan should come and benefit from your program. And you did not envisage that even when you are looking at 5,000, you have called the whole world. And so you should envisage that a lot of people will be there. It is the same thing that had been replicated in 2 other places you mentioned. Because people just do things the way they like, no recourse to government. Government is not also alive to its responsibility.
And that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. Apologies for interrupting you, because, you know, as much as you want to say the organizers didn't put in place all of the measures that they should have, but most of these programs, especially even this one, because it was in collaboration with a radio station that has a really wide reach. And most of them have, you know, do publicity for their programs. Shouldn't government have the capacity to flag these kind of programs when it realizes that, you know, the proper permit has not been taken?
That's what I'm saying. The government cannot feign ignorance of the occurrence. It is on the public space. Unless they are telling us that somebody is not doing his job well, I don't know what the Ministry of Information is doing, and what other government agencies that are supposed to know what goes on. Then, what is the essence of having security votes when security reports cannot tell you that certain things is going to happen in a particular location? It's just a failure of government. And I think that Oyo State government should cover their facing shame to say that they are not aware, even when it is everywhere that they want to organize this kind of program. It is the responsibility of the government to call those who are organizers and ask them questions. What are those things you have put in place? But because government does its things the way they like, citizens do their things the way they like, nobody cares. And that's why we have the view that there should be a commission of inquiry looking at what has happened so that we can prevent future occurrence. We need to have a protocol that people should follow. Now we are having the end of the year crossover night and stuff like that. If care is not taken, what has happened recently will happen if you are not taking any precaution. And that is why government at all levels should rise up to their responsibility. It is not enough for government to feign ignorance of what has happened in their environment. The Constitution, you know, squarely laid at the doorstep of government protection of life and properties. It is their function to protect lives and properties, which they failed in the circumstance. So it is to us as a Nigerian Bar Association, we are not accepting those excuses that they are not aware.
What about the security agencies, Mr. Lawal? Because for every area, even if not, we don't have, you know, police stations in streets, but at least for every area, you know, there's a way that they have situated police stations to cover a particular area. And so there must be a Basha Room police station, you know, or one that is very close by, that might have gotten feelers as to that event. Shouldn't there have been some sort of, you know, checks by the police as well to say, you know, until this is done, you know, we are seeing crowd at this particular location, and we're going to work everybody out until the proper permit or proper, you know, procedure is taken?
Exactly what I'm saying, and that's why I said it is a failure of government, and government should be ashamed to say that they did not know anything. In fact, the police should also be held responsible. Somebody somewhere should have done his job. There should have been a security report as to what was going on. Even the DSS should also be culpable in this. DSS cannot feign ignorance that they do not know that event of that magnitude is happening anywhere. That is why they are, you know, they are secret security agents. So they know, but because of the lackadaisical attitude of an average Nigerian to their job, they failed. The government failed. The security personnel failed. All those excuses that they did not consult them, as far as I'm concerned, does not hold water to me. And that is why I said beyond police investigation, there must be a commission of inquiry so that we can look at how it happened, what made it happen, and those who are responsible. I know that commission of inquiries will bring out all those things and also make recommendations. It is just not acceptable. It is, to me, it is just crash irresponsibility on the part of government, on the part of security agencies, wherever they might be, to feign ignorance of what has happened. In fact, the report has it that people had been at that venue a day before the commencement of the program itself. So it has given a red signal ab initio. And if the security personnel had been up and doing with their job, that calamity will have been prevented. And that's what we are saying, that they have failed to do what is required of them. And so we feel that Commission of Inquiry will be better suited to look at culpability generally of everyone, the organizers, the security agencies, even the government itself. We must know, so that for the sake of posterity and for the sake of preventing future occurrence, it will be better for us to have it documented and to be made public, so that those who want to embark on that kind of a journey in future will know what to do to prevent what has happened in Ibadan. 35 lives is not a small thing. Even a life is a big deal, not to talk of 35 children. It is unfortunate, and we must not take it lightly.
Really unfortunate.
I am happy that the government said the state government has agreed that they want to set up a committee to look into it. But we are saying that it is a commission of inquiry that should look at it, such that whatever they recommend, can be implemented as quickly as possible.
It's quite unfortunate, the families that have now been thrown into mourning at a time where people should be celebrating. But I also wanted to ask you, because some people are saying, look, they're calling for leniency, especially for the organizers, because they say this is an event that was meant to render assistance to people at a very difficult time. But in terms of the law, what would be the position of the law in that regard?
Well, it is too early for anybody to jump into conclusion or to talk about leniency. We must first and foremost, know what has happened. And that is why if we make an inquiry or we do investigation, we'll know the level of culpability. It is too, as far as I'm concerned, it is too early. Because we also add that security agencies were not involved. There were no measures, there were no ambulances and stuff like that. People should take responsibility for whatever they have done. The law has no place for emotion. If you call the whole world, I listened to the former Olori of Oni, where he said all children of Ibadan are expected at that program. If you talk about all children of Ibadan, you are talking about millions of people. You can't be talking about even 5,000 in that place. And you should know that when you talk about when you invite children, their parents will follow them. So even when you say 5,000, you are talking about 10,000 already with their parents. So the reality is that we must identify or establish the culpability of the organizers. It's only when we look at what did they do. Is it a honest mistake, or is it that they did not also put what they are supposed to put in place? And ignorance of the law is not an excuse, as far as I'm concerned. So my conclusion is that it is too early for anybody to begin to beg for leniency. We must get to the root of this matter first. When we now know, then we'll be able to now determine whether the government should be lenient with them or not. But to put that is like putting the cart before the horse, as far as I'm concerned. So what we should be concerned about as citizens now is to actually know what transpired. And the level
Absolutely.
of involvement.
But in terms of what transpired, Mr. Lawal, I have just a few minutes left. I want to try and throw in two questions before we go. In terms of what transpired, I know that, like you said, it's too early. But if because people died in this event, what sort of charges could arise from this if anyone is found culpable and government is looking to bring them to book? What sort of charges can come up?
Well, the thing is that there could be criminal negligence, because you can't actually say murder, because there was no intention to murder anyone. But there is criminal negligence, which involves loss of life. So it's very clear. And that's why you must establish the culpability of the dramatis personae in this matter. before you can now begin to talk of whether there should be leniency, whether they should be charged, whether they should not be charged. We must know. We have a right to know. It is not enough for you to say you want to be nice to me and put people's life in jeopardy. If you called for an event of that magnitude and it was discovered that there are no security measures put in place to protect lives and properties, then you are as guilty as those who have done, set out to do a criminal act. It's so unfortunate that we can do philanthropy, but even when we are doing philanthropy, we must know that this is a country governed by law, and we must do everything humanly possible to avoid, casualties.
And we were going to touch on this earlier, but I sort of said we will talk about it later. In terms of the laws that should be put in place, just days after the event, this sad situation in Ibadan, we're recording one in Maitama, one in Anambra. Let's not forget, I think it was the Nigerian Immigration Service that was looking to employ at some point, and we saw the Stampede. I think it was at the stadium in Abuja. We've had that of the customs. They've been one in the church in Rivers. Just a lot. People will say it's one too many. What sort of laws? How should we begin to spell this out in a way that people know that, look, we are governed by laws? And what sort of laws should be put in place, going forward?
Well, the thing is that there should be a protocol to be followed by whoever that wants to organize events that will involve, like numbers of people. The government must set out in clear terms what are those agencies that those ones should go to, like the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Environment, the security apparatus and stuff like that. They must spell it out for them that if you are doing this, these are the things you must follow. And the law must back it up that failure to do, these are the consequence. The first thing is that such events must not be allowed to hold if those protocols are not followed. It's as simple as that. First and foremost, government must be notified of whatever events you want to do. Like I said, yes, you have a right to peaceful assembly. Peaceful assembly does not now translate to people killing themselves or people suffering casualty. It means that it is no longer peaceful. You cannot call these ones that happen in Ibadan or in Maitama a peaceful assembly any longer. So we must ensure, because the government must not run away from the responsibility of maintaining order and ensuring that lives and properties are protected. So if we have that protocol, backed by legislation to state that whoever violates this would go to so much imprisonment, I know that our people would conform. And where those protocols are not followed, the government must ensure that such event did not take place and that those that are organizing it should be arrested and prosecuted.
And what are your expectations in terms of the transparency of this investigation? Because people worry that, look, because of the personality also involved, that perhaps all of this would billow out in a few days and then everyone moves on like nothing happened.
If you read our statement on this, we have said that the bar will follow keenly with the investigation, and also if the Commission of Inquiry is set up, we will get involved. The bar will not allow anything to be swept under the carpet. We are going to follow closely and we are going to speak at every point in time. If there is going to be any cover-up, we are going to expose it. The bar is so much interested in this, and no stone will be left unturned. We are going to ensure that we see to the end that people, answer to whatever malfeasance they have committed.
Thank you so much for your time. Chairman, Ibadan branch of the Nigerian National Bar Association, Ibrahim Lawal. Nigerian Bar Association, better. Thank you so much for your time.
Welcome. My pleasure.
All right, that's Standpoint this week. Remember, you can watch the repeat broadcast at 11 p.m. tonight and 5 a.m. on Sunday. Thank you for watching. I am Precious Amaya.